How you guys doing? This is Andrew at FloryPB, and today we're gonna do something. I always say we're gonna do something a little different, but I realized that I showed you guys builds of markers. I showed you guys weird parts of markers for angels specifically, but I've never actually done a video like a startup video. So if you don't have all the tools that you need for an angel, or if you just want something to just try to use as quick as possible, is there a way to do that with an older marker like an angel, something that's vintage but nice to play with and something that's good? So I'm doing a video like that. I just bought this marker, still in the box I bought it from used, and I'm going to take it out. We're going to see if we can get it working without rebuilding the whole thing, just get a playable baseline marker. And I picked an 05 speed to start this way. It's very simple. There's no internal battery in 05 speed. It's the first angel that does have an internal battery. So you know you're just going to replace a 9-volt and you get the board working on it. So that's the first step. It's a great marker to deal with right away, especially on the cheap. I think this was like 190 bucks. They hover around $200 working. It looks like they're working. You can get them in 45 frame or 90 frame, just depending on how you want to play. If you want to feel that old 90 frame angel experience, or if you want a more comfortable 45 frame experience. In my opinion, more comfortable, but not everyone. Some people like the 90 frame. And has eyes, so you don't have to worry about having a fast hopper. Though don't let no eyes dissuade you from an older angel, because with a modern rotor, you don't need eyes to make an older angel LCD just shoot great and not chop and not worry about it all day. They also use lower pressure air tanks, so your Ninja tank you get, that 650 psi that a lot of people don't realize, that's the standard output now is like 650 or lower. You can use your Ninja tank on it without having any issues with too low of air pressure going into it. And it has no LCD screen either. It's an LED board. Bitch to program, I'll say that. I'm going to have to look back in the manual to actually program this thing, but it doesn't matter. You don't really need to program much. It's semi-only, so that's pretty cool for a vintage marker. And they're just super reliable, super easy. No LCD screen to worry about being faded, dead, cracked, something like that. It's probably the cheapest angel to start with. So, let's see what we got. An angel. Oh, and got 2 barrels. Again, 190 bucks. And we'll do more with this marker. That's a stock barrel. And I always loved the speed line for angels because they were no bullshit. They were one of the first mid-end guns, or the first real mid-range gun from a high-end company. Guess you had Bushmasters, but they blew. So, and that was the original speed. This is the 05 speed. This one just kind of raised the bar for the more budget-conscious marker. And there we go. Nice 90 frame speed. First thing I always check is your trigger. Make sure your trigger is moving. If it's not, you got to take the frame apart, but you don't need anything special to take the frame apart on these, so that's a good starting point. Other thing, let's check. That's nice and tight. Check for a breech seal. Let's just make sure we have a breech seal. That would be my second check. We have a breech seal on this one. Soft face bolt, which is nice. The soft face is still in it. Nothing looks out of place. We are going to clean the detents and eyes. That is nice and tight. I prefer my angels to be very tight on the roto breech because it stops them from lifting so much, so you're not blowing as much air out the side and you're not wasting as much efficiency on it. Let's see if it turns on. Oh, fuck me, it turns on. Look at that. I think this thing, you put a little lube in, it's going to shoot out the box, and it's just a random angel that I bought. But let's give it a little look through, a little cleaning. We won't touch the high pressure regulator or the low pressure regulator right now because that requires special tools. High pressure one doesn't. You just got to get this beauty ring off without busting the shit out of it. You need kind of a special plier to do that, or you try to bust the shit out of this instead. Yeah, this is one of the... I might be lying to you. Has the Allen key in, so that's good. These original Angel ones, that looks pretty kosher. So you want to take off, or look at the reg. We can service the reg with minimal effort with just a 4mm Allen. You can get in there. You want to pull this Allen, and you want to pull the Allen over here on these universal, what do they call these regs? They're shit regs, but they're not that bad to work on. They didn't really change anything with these regs from the older regs. They just gave it this this new body style, which is non-universal, like the previous regs were. Just put your Allen key in the hole, and you can pull it right out. And it services just like any other mini reg. You should have some C-clip pliers, jeweler's pliers. These were like $10. If you do anything with paintball, these are pretty common. Anything with cars, these are pretty common. Pull that out. It actually looks great. Looks good enough. We're going to wipe it down, give it a little lube. We won't put any special O-rings on it or anything right now. We just wanted to shoot, so we're going to give it some lube. Ah, fuck it. Let's use Dow 33. Hold on. We use Dow 33 just to do everything that should be in most people's toolboxes. Get rid of the leaker. Now this is where you can do a mod to change your spring stack, which I just fucked up my spring stack. These don't mind being coated pretty well. So this spring stack is they all face opposite of each other on these newer Angels. You can always change that to operate at a higher pressure reg if you have one. Not really a modern problem anymore. But check these O-rings. That's one to watch out for. This is a standard Angel macro line fitting, the standard ones they used. I forget the actual company that made those, but they have an Allen key insert in them. When you get something with a different macro line on it, now this hole has to line up with this hole, but when you get a different macro line fitting on these, because that one leaked or whatever, you want to be very gently position it, because that one leaked or something like that. You might not have that option to pull that out so easy, and I tend to go into these not thinking I have that option. Bring it somewhere in the middle. So the reg has been serviced very quickly. The trigger feels good, like I said. Has the two veneer adjusters here. They look like they're good. Those are some of the things you can might have to watch out for. Is they're sticky, they're broken, someone has them in backwards. That's kind of stuff. It's not even specialty work. If you just open the Angel manual, you can get it online. They're everywhere. They have a pretty detailed colored manual on these. So you can see and just basically see what you need to do in order to put those back in the correct order, or just take them out because they're not actually necessary to operate the marker. That's the two little wheels right there. That little tighten. And we will change the battery. Now that one looked pretty good, but it's a mystery battery. Now, if you take off both grips, there's a little pinky hole that you can push this battery up on. Or you can just be an animal like me right now and find a way to pry it. There's the pinky hole there. You can take the other grip off and push something through, like your pinky or something, to get that going. Always look at the contacts. They look nice. Nothing's corroded or burnt on them. This is where you can check your eyes. The eye ribbon is sensitive, so that's right there. Then it's just your solenoid. And your switch wires on the 05 speed board for your switch back here. There's no buttons on an 05 speed, and some of the more modern speed, no buttons either. Not really a problem. Again, my personal opinion is I don't see many of these where anyone's actually screwed with the settings that much, just because they were a little difficult to actually mess with settings. And it doesn't matter. It's just going to shoot really well, like out of the box. So, I like where the trigger is. The reg is serviced. We're going to pull this out and get a little lube on the cup seal. That is your normal failure mode for mechanical parts, in my opinion. With any Angel, is the cup seal needs a little lube on it, needs a little oil. And it's just the... whoa! A little bit of pressure on that one. There we go. It's a low pressure cup seal. Sometimes people throw in the old high pressure ones in these, and they're a little short, so they don't work very well. A little chowdered up there, but the neck is neck down. That's a trademark of the low pressure cup seal. They're a little bit longer than the older ones. Any oil will really do, any decent marker oil. I'll just oil that bastard right there. Helps it seal up. Just look down the tube. Everything looks pretty good. There's really no drama you can really see down this tube, so. Come on. Now it's in. This is the carrier, the spring. Just make sure the spring looks okay. It's not rusted up. You don't need to replace the spring or anything like that. The carrier looks fine. No one's dicked around with it. Definitely has some spring tension in it. I'm going to lube this O-ring up. I always try to start this by hand, because you have an aluminum thread in the body you're dealing with here. It's all aluminum. You have a lot of spring tension on these. You just want to make sure it's going smooth, or else you're going to strip out the threads, and that sucks. So, something that we can fix, but it's just a pain in the ass. We'll try the LPR as well. We're not going to take the whole body out. There's really no need to, unless you see an issue going on. But you really need an M3 screw to get that out right there. Now I'm trying to think. If there's a poor, or if there's a cheating way to do this. This is your tool. That screw's a little too big. That don't fit in there. Of course, you can always get your Allen key in there and just yank it, but you might damage the threads, or you might hurt the threads. Let's, that's too big too. So I have no clever way to get this out other than just get your smallest Allen key. Put it in past the threads where you feel it. Give a little tension and pull it up. And you can get that out. You're not really doing too much. You're just going to look. Make sure there's some shims in there. I would take them out, check the shims. Of course, doing a budget, you don't really have any way to fix a bent-up shim. The shim's bent up, it's really not bad, but it might give you some inconsistencies in velocity as it's flexing differently depending on if it moves or not. Everything looks pretty good in there. You're not really going to see much. There's only one seal that's not static that matters. I'll toss the shims back. They got a little lube on them. These are every other. Should be 4 there. Yeah, I won't polish it or anything. We're just going to lube it up. This one starts facing towards, facing away, facing towards again, and then facing away. Make sure it's seated all the way in there. Give you a little lube too. Now again, I like the 05 speeds because there's not really anything we're dicking around with electrically right now. It turns on. We don't know if the eyes work, but we want to clean up that whole breech area. So we'll pop the breech out. There's going to be a spring here in these. It's a little tight. This guy before me tightened these things down a little bit. Pop it off gently. Get the spring and the ball detent there. There's the 2 little pins here. It's a little dirty, but nothing crazy. I'm going to get the other side off, then we'll clean this out. And that should be ready to go. Keep a finger on this in case it wants to spring out on you. These are a little stuck, so you don't really care. Just try to loosen it gently with the Allen. You don't want to beat up the threads. So you try to get right at that line where you feel the thread starting in this hole and just pry up on it a tiny bit. So the springs are in good condition. Those could be rusty. Pop that off. The eyes can sometimes be stuck in here. See if we can gently get these out. So what you can do, pull that out, pull the bolt out. Get your small Allen key. And try to gently get it out from that end. These bastards are really stuck in there. Wouldn't fear anything with this right now. We'll wipe that. Get a little alcohol. Preferably like isopropylene alcohol, like for any kind of phone repairs you do or anything like that. So we want to be gentle with the eyes and the ribbon. There it goes, a little pressure. Popped it out. It's pretty clean. coming this way, just at an angle. This is a rounded Allen key too. Ooh, that one's tight. There we go. Came in straight through this eye into the other one. You can always try to let it soak if you need to. Just kind of trying to be down and dirty. So a lot of the times, unless people actually break the plug back here, these eyes are just dirty. Paint broke in them or something. Check, make sure the whole hole is clear for the eye. Nothing looks bad on the eye, so I'm just going to put it back in. Same deal on the other side. This marker is fairly clean. You might not get this lucky. They just sit back in pretty well. I'm going to put these back on. Then we're going to test it real quick. See if the eyes are reading. I just put a dead battery in there. Huh. It's not happy with my battery. So the battery that was in it, because these are prong terminals, apparently pushed it in a little further than mine does. So take something, an Allen key or a pick, and just gently bend the terminal out a little bit to make better contact with your battery. Completely forgot about that. Negative, positive. There we go. And a lot of people, not a lot of people, but sometimes people have problems with this, and it's something they don't realize. The marker just turns on and off on them sometimes and shit like that, and they think it's the board. But it's actually just the battery coming unconnected from the terminal. Just make sure it's a decent fit so it won't shoot. Block the eyes. So it's shooting. So that's good. The eyes are functioning. The trigger feels okay. Nothing feels terrible. I'm not even going to take that off. It's not worth it in this. We're not doing a full teardown. We're just trying to make a functioning marker and just make sure that everything looks and feels correct. I'll just clean the detents, put the springs back on them. Throw the detent at yourself. Have it fall in a box so you can't get your fingers in. We're slippery little bastards, but... clean all the crud off of it. And I love angel detents. They'll never die. It will be good forever. Just as long as you keep it clean. Won't wear out like a rubber detent will. Put the spring back in. Make sure it feels right in there. So these carriers go one way. This is the wrong way. You want it facing down on this marker. Or the covers, I should say, not carriers. There's a pin that locates in there, and the screw goes in there. I kind of locate the pin and then just push straight down. Keep your finger on it so you don't pop it up. Again, make sure you catch the actual threads and you're not cross-threading it because there's a tiny screw. Put your finger in the breech, push down on it. It should be fairly free to move back, but still have enough tension. Feels, to me, it feels right. I don't really like the rubber detents that you see in a lot of modern stuff. I love the older style detents that push out of the way. Just feels good to me. I like ball detents, I think, the best, but these aren't bad. Same deal on this side. You don't have to throw parts around, though. I made a huge mistake with the regulator. Always put your snap ring back in. So we gotta pull that bastard out again. That's what I get for just winging it. Come on, baby. Oh. Some fiber on it. Wait. It's not happy. So just get in your pliers. These are jeweler's pliers. They're not actually C-clip pliers. It's kind of tricky to find a perfect size C-clip plier for these. So make sure it snaps in. It's in there right. Okay. Line up the velocity adjuster hole. Slips in. Gently move it around so it's just right. Be conscious of the threads. They are aluminum. All right, both regs are serviced. We have a little lube on the cup seal. The electronics have been gone through. The eyes have been cleaned. The detents have been cleaned. The marker is nearly ready to go. One final check I would like to do is this ram looks too far back. You always want, even with the soft face bolt, especially because these are getting a little dead through time, you always want to hear that click as you come in. That pushes the bolt a tiny bit forward into the breech. So we are going to take off this super sweet kick-ass paintball products purple detent or breech knob holder or breech knob. So I've got the camera cut out on me there. Don't exactly know where, but if I said this already, I apologize. We went through the front of the marker. We went through both regulators just by pulling them out with the simple Allen keys that we have and a set of pliers, but you could do this without pliers to get the snap ring off if you really needed to. Went through the detents, the eyes, just make sure that was all clean and good. Put a fresh battery in it. We checked the trigger. The trigger's working fine. The bolt looks good. The breech seal is good. One final area to check is the ram. I don't like the position of the ram. It's not where it's supposed to be. So we're going to pull the breech seal out. This is a little rusty. We can get a little lube on that. The ram is supposed to be forward a little bit so your bolt clicks in and pushes forward a tiny bit into the breech. That covers and helps with some of the problems you have, because you need threads for your feed neck, and that puts a space in every angel between the threads and the back where the bolt hits against. So you want to push the bolt forward a little bit. The soft face bolt helps with that a little bit. What it does is it keeps balls from being able to roll back, and it keeps balls from rolling forward and the bolt smacking them instead of pushing them, which is what you don't want to do. So if you close this, there's no sound. So again, you can use pliers if you have them. Again, we're saying we don't have the tool. If you don't have that though, there's no reason you can't use your 2 smallest Allen keys, because this isn't very hard. And all you're going to do is put them in the 2 pinholes and rotate them in. This is not even a serviceable part, so you don't have to worry about that. So we're going to keep putting it in. Has a little bit of a click now. Let's get a little more click action. Let's click it. You want to try to click this as hard as you can. Or you want to try to make it not crazy, but just comfortable. Like, that's crazy. See that? That's way too hard because you can't get it out. So we're going to come back a little bit. A little too hard still. I don't like that. You want to just get close with your hands, you can do that. That's a good click. Get that click. Probably go forward a tiny bit. Nice, crisp click. I like that. I'm gonna wipe this off. These suck when they get stuck in there. Give it a little bit of lube. Now, if you're planning on using this a lot in some really shitty conditions, I would hesitate to use a grease. I would use an oil, maybe get a little oil slick, because you don't want to accumulate a ton of dirt to get stuck to it and shit like that, because it does get exposed right there. But for what I'm doing with this and for what I normally do, I recommend lubing it a tiny bit. Protects it a little better. It is steel, so it will rust. Press down. Wait. The easiest way to put these back on is you. This is a heavy breech. Or did. Oh, it's too far forward. That's it. The bolt slid a little far forward there. It is a, it's not like a snap ring set up like the older ones. Best thing I like to do is you just put it so that gets rested on right there on the side, right on the edge, and then you don't have to sit here and try to screw with this thing as you put it on. You can get it on. You know where it's going to be. Just get as tight as you can. That's good. Nice and tight, so you can bring it up and spin it a little bit. And open these. And that should be good. We'll leave the barrel off for a minute. And let's see if we have any internal issues. We just glanced over it. Let's give it a on-off bottom line setup. Well, the few bolts you should tighten down, give it a little snug, is your bottom line. It's just super annoying if that gets loose, and it just makes it worse for you. Because that's the chance that you have to actually rip the thing off the marker, is when it's loose and wiggling a little bit. So I would always recommend to snug that bastard down. Too big. Again, don't go crazy. It is only aluminum threads on everything. And it's going to be a little big, but another thing to try, because we don't know when the last time this had a macro line in it. I'm going to dip my grease. You always want to put a couple drops of grease in, or a couple drops of oil in an Angel on startup. Put that in, rub it around the O-ring, try to get that seal good. There are very nice fittings, the stock Angel fittings. Turn her on. We'll just get it shooting. And let's see if we have any leaks. Listen quietly for any hissing. Nothing. So just want to get a little oil through it. I can smell the oil from the cup seal. Angels will not self-vent. We're going to give it a little more oil just because we don't know where it's been. And I wouldn't put this much oil in to start, but we aren't shooting it down the barrel. Don't let this go down your barrel, or else you're just going to have wonky shooting paint, and it's not the paint's fault at that point. And what I'm feeling for right now is, if I feel any inconsistency in the shot, you don't want to put your hand right over it. Use something to soften the blow. But I want to feel if there's any inconsistencies, like if you can feel the drop off, because you can feel your hand and it's going to move differently if there's less pressure behind it. That feels pretty good. I'm just putting my thumb up here to feel if there's a lot of blow by, which means there might be something really wrong with the valve stem. As in it's opening too fast, or the bolt might be the wrong bolt in it or something. But everything there seems money. We'll wipe that off. And if you have a squeegee on hand, it would help with this, but we'd like to wipe this out. And wipe out your breech, and your Angel has been properly lubed. More than properly lubed. Woo. You definitely feel it coming out of there. And we'll get this thing on a chronograph on the next video. And we won't leave it like this. We'll definitely do a full breakdown, go into this marker. I don't think I've done an 05 speed. I would like to do it. But these are just great little reliable markers, man. That looks different. Yeah, it's a full stainless steel hammer on it. So that got upgraded, but it got changed. Not a problem either way. Yep. Put the stock barrel on it, and it's a great little snap shooting, gunfighting gun. Heavy. Definitely heavy, but that weight just makes it so smooth in comparison to how a modern marker feels. Might be shooting a little low. We can check well, but I think it just needs to be that feels better. Still no leaks. And yeah, you have an Angel now. It's shooting. You can go play with it. And it's just that simple. I mean, if you deal with an older Angel that has rechargeable battery, that's probably the first thing that's going to die. There's a chance it's okay, but I get a lot of people that say that they just, hey, I have this Angel, I'm just going to have a charger from you, and you know, the battery's always screwed. So that's why we always offer the battery in the service, because they just wear out through time. It's not like they're meant to last forever. It's a NIM battery. It's nothing out of the ordinary, but it's going to eventually give up the ghost. And like I said, I like the 05 speeds because they have 9 volts. The boards are dead simple. Don't screw with it. I can go in the board settings. We probably will in the next video with it. But the chance of someone actually changing these board settings is probably slim to none. If they change them, they didn't change them hard. It feels like it's shooting okay. We'll chronograph it when it's decent outside. It's night right now, just to see how it's shooting over the chrono. Eyes work. That's another issue you can have. Those are semi-expensive, so sometimes it's a crapshoot. Sometimes you get unlucky because you have some douchebag selling it who's not telling you everything. And there are replacements out there. They are available. You can get stock ones on eBay and stuff sometimes, or there's a, what's that guy's name? There's a guy that actually makes them, or was making them. He probably still has a bunch left over. So they are still available to find eyes for these things. The ball detents, hopefully those are all intact. Those are some of the smaller parts that someone could lose and send to you, or and sell you the gun without it. But chances are no one's probably ever opened that with these kind of markers. They're just dead simple. One switch, little oil in them. We probably went over the top with how we lubed it and what we went through just to check things. But that's good. No leaks, aired right up. You have to go into the solenoids. Sometimes you get some sticky solenoids, but that's it could be in this kind of range, especially with the lower voltage Angels. I've seen that a lot more with the lower voltage Angels. This is a 9-volt Angel, so it probably is not sticky, but if you have the 4.8 volt rechargeable, like A4s and stuff like that, you see some stickier solenoid issues happen just because it doesn't have as much power to hit the solenoid. That, in my opinion, I really don't know. The veneer wheels do work. They feel nice. This one is not clicking, so someone has messed with that, so that would be something to change. This back one's always a pain in the ass to get to, but it is clicking. I like a nice loose trigger on these. And they're just, it's just such a nice frame. I mean, I don't like playing with 90 frames, but to like snap shoot, you just get so much tighter and it just feels so right to point the thing with the 90 frame. Definitely a cool marker if you would, you know, if you want to try an old Angel, you want to get an old Angel, but you don't want to put a lot of money into it. I think 05 speeds are the way to go. We will do more. We'll break this thing down fully, show you guys everything, but for now, it was just hopefully a quick, if you have 30 minutes and you got a new mark and you want to play with it in the weekend because you're doing something cool, one of the Angels to get is this one right here. One of the simplest ones to work on. I showed you how to work on without any of the proper Angel tools. Now, again, we don't know what the LPR pressure is, but it's fairly simple, especially with these. Make sure the dwell is stock. Go into the user's mount and make sure the dwell is stock. The dwell is set to stock and your tank is the right pressure. Again, with the low pressure Angels, it doesn't matter. If you have a high, I shouldn't say that. If you have a high pressure tank, it's going to be too high your velocity. But if you have a regular Ninja tank or something like that, these low pressure Angels from the 04 speed and on, they'll just take the tank right away and they don't care. So that's super easy. So if your dwell's set stock, your tank pressure is fine, and you're not getting massive blow by because you don't have a breech seal or your breech is just set up wrong. If you're not getting massive blow by, the only thing it could be if you crank this bastard out is that you got to shim this up higher. You got to put more shims in to give a little more pressure into it. But that's something where you have to actually get shims, number one. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But if you ever got shims, they do have shim packs still sitting around out there. One shim at a time, it's about 5 to 10 PSI. Just shim to taste until you get to the pressure that you need. But again, if you have like 5, 6, 7 shims in there, something's wrong. It should be 2, 3, 4 shims at the most. I would never even try to put 5 in. I think something else is screwing up. You have 5 shims going into the thing because they really aren't set that bad out of the factory normally. And yeah, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope someone got interested in this and will have no fear in picking up an 05 speed or a little bit older Angel so you can shoot a more vintage electro. Again, it's an awesome shooting gun. It's just completely different feeling than a modern gun. It makes more responsive noises. It vibrates differently. It's just a cool thing to shoot. Not to go play a tournament with, but if you're playing rec ball in the woods or something like that, it's just an awesome marker to shoot and just use and appreciate what they had back then. And you know, this was a mid-range marker back when electros were super expensive, super hard to get, and it was hard to get other things. This was that mid-range, that around $1,000 tier when the other Angels were $1,500, when the Bob Longas were $1,500. It was a third the price and could perform just as well. And yeah, that's it for this. You'll see this marker again. We'll do a shooting video. We'll break it down fully, do a complete clean, and all that as well with this, just because we have it here, and I really don't need it, so we'll figure out what we do with this thing. But I just wanted to take something and just do an experiment. Grabbed it for 190 bucks on eBay. Put a new battery in it, lubed it up a tiny bit with just basic tools that you should be able to have on hand. Metric Allens, a plier, a C-clip plier. And yeah, got it shooting. Feels great. And we'll prove that it's shooting great. Alright guys, this is Andrew at FloryPB. That's it for now.